Hello. It is so nice to have a 3D audience, can I just say? Welcome to our session. So today we are going to chat a little bit about how Asana helped DeBeers in their mission to transform their brand to make life brilliant. By way of introduction, my name is Katie Rowland, and I head up our marketing efforts. I head up Asana's marketing efforts in EMEA, and I'm joined today by Stephen Amir. Stephen, you are head of marketing effectiveness, and I would love to kick us off today by chatting a little bit about your role and what do you do at DeBeers.
Yeah, I always feel a bit like Chandler in Friends when people say, what do you do? But hopefully in a room full of marketeers, you have a rough idea of what marketing effectiveness is. But yeah, essentially my role is all around bringing focus to our marketing strategy, focus to how we deliver our campaigns, and then focus on the measurings that matter. So, and I'm a big believer that with focus comes power. So yeah, that's sort of the role in a nutshell. I guess my mum would say I help sell diamonds, but that's the short answer.
And so can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that maybe the marketing team were experiencing that led you to seek a new way of working?
Sure. So I think there were sort of four really big external challenges that were happening in the sort of the diamond category. Some of you may own diamonds, some of you may be thinking of buying diamonds, some of you might be questioning if you want to buy a diamond. One big trend was around a move from category to brand. Most of the market is generic in terms of diamonds, so people just buy diamonds and it isn't necessarily from a brand, but we saw a real big increase in people seeking out diamonds from a brand. The second area was moving from consumer to client, and what I mean by that is you don't consume diamonds, it's not milk. You have to build a real strong connection with the client. And what we really did see was we were getting all this data on our clients about what they were buying, why they were buying, and actually there were some really interesting trends. We were seeing in China that actually women were buying solitaires and engagement rings for themselves, not through sort of a relationship. We saw men buying actually really exquisite necklaces and jewelry. And actually we saw it moving away from, it's 75 years since a diamond is forever, the tagline was sort of invented by Francis Garati. But actually so much has changed in that time. And, what we're seeing a lot of, is a promotion, going out and buying a beautiful piece. And then I guess the other areas, what you're all talking about, an explosion in the kind of metaverse, this type of world, and what does that mean for our the collections and products that we sell. And then finally, probably the most important is around purpose. And that's probably more connected to us because we have such a close connection to the communities that we work with. Our mines, for example, where we discovered diamonds, our 50-50 joint venture with the government of Botswana. So telling those stories, I've been banned to say the word authentic, but those authentic stories has really been something that people want to know. Where does my diamond come from? What was the good it did on its journey? And what's the positive impact it's had on the people and the planet? So us as a marketing team, if we looked at ourselves internally, we weren't very agile. I think most of the time we were just like, who's doing what when? And like just trying to make sure we hit the deadline. And there wasn't necessarily the space for creativity, and we wanted to open up spaces for creativity so we could say, okay, well, if that's happening in the outside world, how do we as a marketing team effectively rise to the challenge? So that was why.
Excellent. And when you went on your search for a new way of working, a new process, a new tool like Asana, can you talk us about what that felt like and how did that help?
Yeah, I think with Asana, the reason why we sought that out was because, I think a lot of people say discipline is, they see it as like a straitjacket, you're restricted, but actually discipline can give a lot of freedom. And what we were finding was just knowing what everyone was doing from a campaign perspective, what Asana really helped was get everything in one place, as you can sort of see on the screen. We have 4 different regions, we have about 100 people in our marketing team, At the time, before we were doing about 24 campaigns, now we're doing about 12, going back to sort of focusing. But what really Asana helped us do was implement with speed. A lot of the team were wedded to previous tools, And we really looked out to see what was the best way for us to manage our campaigns, what was the best way for us to be a more agile team. And actually, when we looked at the market, Asana was really the one that we found was the most effective. So now we have all of our campaigns in one space, so we know what's doing, so we can prioritize as we see things shifting, like, for example, big change in the diamond industry with the war in Ukraine and sanctions around Russian diamonds, etc. So, needing to shift and move to those different changes in the market, Asana helps us do that because we know what campaigns are happening, we know what needs to change, and that's really what it's helped us do.
Excellent. I think it's all very well and good for us to say to our marketing team, Excel and email is not built for the work you're expected to do as a marketer today. But implementing it is a totally different story. Changing how people work is challenging. Yeah. So maybe you can talk to that. You're laughing already, but maybe you can chat to that a little bit about what worked when you implemented a new way of working, and probably most helpfully for this audience, what didn't?
Yeah, I think probably starting with what was the challenge in terms of, if you're saying to people, right, I know, because we had a very decentralized structure before, about 80% of our campaigns were managed in the market. So sort of in a head office, we didn't necessarily know what was happening, and the rationale for that was, we want the markets to be agile, respond to what's happening. But when something really big strategically was happening, it would take us so much time to be like, okay, yeah, what campaigns are you doing again? When's that going live? Okay, yeah, actually, we don't want to do that. So I think it was definitely, people were like, oh, is this big brother? You're seeing what we're doing in one place. But actually, it goes back to that point I mentioned around discipline is freedom. Now, actually, if you work together to deliver the campaigns, you can just be so much more agile to say, right, I'm clear you're doing this, you run off and go do that, and I'm clear and I'll do that. So I think having the transparency was a blocker at the beginning, but I think once people started seeing the value of actually just keeping people in the loop, they saw our meetings reduced by about 45%. Most of the calls we were in was just like, okay, what are you doing? When are you doing it by? Now the meetings are creative discussions. Okay, like, do we want to move away from just doing bridal, or now should bridal even be called bridal? Should it be called love and commitment? So having different discussions. Actually we're seeing men buying jewelry, much more diamond jewelry. Is there a market there? Actually, is that something we could look at? So much more interesting and dynamic conversations can now flourish. And I think through the tool, actually now, people can, all the markets, like I said, we've got 100 people in our marketing team. To update 100 people, we were having regular status updates. We had like stand-ups. And it was just like draining our time so much that now people just go into Asana, they know what brand's doing, they know what comms are doing, they know what PR's doing. And when we meet, it's a collaborative conversation. And we've just opened up spaces so much more. And we're delivering campaigns on time. So that was a big win.
I can imagine. It's interesting you pinpoint meetings, because we do this survey every year. We survey about 13,000 plus knowledge workers across the globe. And one of the biggest indicators for them, or one of the biggest reasons that they pinpoint for missing deadlines, is useless meetings. And I think it's so, everyone feels it, like everyone's been in a meeting that just doesn't make sense, that it could have been an email, as the meme says, and it's just, it's pretty painful. So being able to put that somewhere and actually use that time to drive things forward is pretty transformative, I imagine.
For sure.
And so let's talk about some of the fun stuff. Since implementing this new way of working, kind of transforming how your department works together, what are some of the biggest wins?
So I think, I could talk about the brand metrics, just being able to have that room to be collaborative, to be creative, that speaks to the results. We're seeing encouraging results from our brand awareness, we're seeing encouraging results from our sales performance. So I think, there's obviously all of that, and then commercially there's that as well. But actually, I think the biggest win was the team. I think it was, previously, because there was always a them and us kind of culture with the market and the head office. They don't understand us in the market, and then the head office was like, well, what are they doing? And actually, I think the biggest win for us was just working better as a team, and now it's like, oh, we've got to check in with the markets on this. It'd be great to get their feedback. And then likewise in the head office, it's just a much more effective and collaborative and nicer place to work. So I think, of course there's all the metrics that matter, but actually I think the biggest win was the cohesion in the team, liberating people's time, and simplifying relentlessly. There's so many templates that you're given. There's so many places to go. This is just an example on the screen. Now, if a market has a client event, we invite different people to an event and we want to have an invite, there's just one place for it to go. And actually markets can see what each other are doing. So if there's a great high jewelry event in Miami, in China, they can say, oh, you did that event. It'd be great to see, how you ran that, what it looked like. And there's just so much more fostering of collaboration. So simplifying relentlessly through having everything in one place, start sort of simplifying how we work together through forms, through simple, lists of what people need to get done, having it all in one place, and then regular updates, and all the feedback captured in one place. Because that was another big thing. Things would go live, and it was like, hang on a minute, that shouldn't have gone live, and that shouldn't have gone live, and actually, with everything in one place, it's just so much more simple.
Fantastic. And you mentioned measurement.
Yeah.
In terms of how are you measuring the success of changing the way your team works and implementing new tools, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it depends in the market, and our brand has a different life cycle in each market. In the US, there's a high level of awareness, but the level of connection to the brand, that's something we want to optimize and improve. So that's something that we've been looking at, and actually through Asana, managing the campaign has allowed us to do it so much more effectively because we've got time to do the research. Okay, well, why is that? What's the barriers to, for the client to buy? But what are also the opportunities? So I think there's definitely the brand side, the brand measurement, but also this is sort of a sales-focused campaign at Christmas. When we launched this, it was really like showing that we are the home of diamonds. We have the most amazing diamonds, and all different colors and sizes. So, come to us. So I think this did particularly well. So we're sort of also looking at with the portfolio view I showed earlier, looking at the balance of what do we do on sales activation campaigns, and then what do we do in brand building. And it's allowing us to also just have that bird's eye helicopter view to say, right, at these moments, it's really focused on it's a sales window. We want to get a sales spike, whereas these are the windows where it's a brand moment and we need to do a brand campaign.
Brilliant.
So, different measures for different campaigns.
Yeah,
Okay. Fine.
We'll have to just talk really. Oh no,
Yeah.
we're back.
Oh,
We're back.
and you're back.
But I guess one of the things as well is the staff engagement survey. And we do like these pulse surveys to say how are you feeling, how are you finding things, and sometimes you're sitting in a meeting and we'll use a tool called Menti, and we'll just do a pulse survey and we'll see like how are you finding things, and just from that we're getting real-time feedback that teams are feeling more positive.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things we hear from all of our customers is that the sense of clarity makes them feel more engaged, and them being able to see how their everyday work really ladders up to the organization's mission. So in your case, making life more brilliant really motivates them. And again, that survey I referenced earlier, the anatomy of work, we find that when someone understands how their work is connected to an organization's mission, they're 3 times more motivated, which in these days is a huge increase in productivity and efficiency and just a better place to work, which is a big game changer. So in terms of what's next for the marketing department at DeBeers, can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, I think the great thing about Asana is that it's now had like a momentum whereby now we're managing our campaigns. Now our merchandising team are like, hang on a minute, certain teams were like, oh no, we don't want to use it. We don't want another tool, not again. But now that we've kind of used and shown the proof of the use case, now we're delivering product to market. We're planning way more ahead than we ever have before. And so I think what's next is really expanding it. So now we're bringing product to market through Asana, managing it through different stage gates. What we're also doing is looking at other teams, like our global IM team. So we started out, we wanted to get 50 people on Asana. Now we have about 400. So I think what you'll find very quickly is it does land and expand.
Yeah, I think what we experience a lot is that the value is accumulative. So the more people that are on it, so the more departments you work with means your life is just easier. Everything's in one space and it's a single source of truth.
For sure.
Brilliant.
And like I said, focus is power. It's bringing that focus, and that's given us the power in our brand metrics. But then also discipline is freedom. We've having if you can implement that discipline to say, look, get it into Asana. you'll just find that your time is so much more liberated. So
Yeah, that work about work is kind of eliminated, and your team gets to focus on the job that they were hired to do, and hopefully they really enjoy. But
yeah, to make life brilliant.
exactly. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for your time today, and thank you, guys. If anyone has additional questions, you want to talk to myself or Stephen about how you can potentially transform the way you work, the Asana team is over at Cabana C8, and we will be there as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks.